Hello again to all of you wonderful fine people out there to the 92nd edition of Weird Mind Newsroom, where of course this week, like all weeks, we have discussions about some new releases, a few trailers, and of course the news that may have popped out from the world of media from this week that you might have missed. Let's not waste too much on the intros, let's get discussing about all things media that came out from this week of entertainment. So we have quite a few new releases this week, but our first one for the week is a focus of a new horror of something that may look small, but can lead to a level of death and bloodshed than anyone could expect. As Longlegs director Osgood Perkins is giving us his own take and spin on a Stephen King story with the all-new horror movie of The Monkey. The film follows twin brothers Hal and Bill, who discover a vintage toy monkey that belonged to their father in the attic, who soon witnesses a string of horrific deaths happen around them when it was unleashed. In order to rid the haunting, they discard the monkey and soon pursue different paths over time. But soon, when the unexpected deaths resurface, the two are compelled to reconcile and embark on a mission to permanently eliminate the cursed toy. Reception on this new film has garnered some very well received reviews, with praise to its story, its execution, its performances, and level of horror, humor, and bloodshed. While not for everyone and may divide a bit of opinion with some audiences, it provides a still enjoyable film. And if you're up for a bloody time with a creepy toy, you can catch this new film out now in cinemas. Then our first of countless TV shows for this week is a first for an animated studio that, while they have made some shows in the past, they were more based on their award-winning library of movies, and this time they're given their take on an original series in particular for the very first time, as it's time for a big leagues and to play ball, as we have the all-new series from PIxar with Win or Lose. This series will follow a co-ed middle school softball team known as the Pickles in a week leading up to their big championship game, with every episode focusing on the same events but following one different member of the team, and on their perspective as the game approaches for the perspective of each player, the parents, and even the umpire, leading all the way to the big state championships. Reception on this new series how far has been well received, with praise for its visuals, its story, its characters, and concept of telling one take from multiple different stories and perspectives. And while there is some mixed opinion about the cutting of a storyline for a character that would have tackled gender identity due to Disney being Disney, of course, it still works well for the studio with engaging and heartwarming storytelling, though it would have been great to have that story as well. And if you're up for a game, you can catch the first 2 episodes now on Disney Plus, with a new episode releasing every Wednesday. Now you're looking for getting away for a vacation to escape the dull, cold, and rainy early days of the year to a resort with a worldwide name, a high level of luxury, and a deeper sense of uncertainty, because you're in luck, as a new group of reservations are about to be made, as we have received the beginning of the 3rd season to the White Lotus. The new season, like the previous stories of this now anthology series, sees a group of guests checking into the titular White Lotus resort, this time set in Thailand, where it looks glamorous on the outside but holds dark secrets and twisted groups of the guests, the staff, and the locale of the resort that becomes unveiled over a course of a week that was all promised to be nothing more than a relaxing vacation. Reception to this new series so far, like the first 2, have seen some high praise, and is so far the best reviewed season, with praise for its mystery, its characters, and providing a lot of secrets and stories with every new episode. And if you want to check in for a relaxing stay, you can catch the first episode now on demand with Skylantic or Now TV in the UK and Ireland, and HBO Max in the US, with a new episode releasing every Sunday night. The 3rd show for this week is one of the big streamers that sees the conflict of the world coming to a head and the country's security threatened. It will take a former leader to come back to resolve the situation, as Robert De Niro is leading an all-star cast in his first big screen debut with the limited series of Zero Day. The series will see De Niro play a former president of the United States, as his sense of trustworthiness is called to action as he is brought in to lead an investigation to solve a recent devastating cyber attack and find and take down those that are responsible. Reception on this new series has been hit with a bit of a mixed reception, though while the performance and the first TV series debut for De Niro are praised, the story and plot for this political thriller is a little too goofy to really take itself that overly serious. But if you want something of a political nature that may be a bit of a stretch to have with all the constant focus of politics going on in the world right now, then you can catch the new series now on Netflix. As our next release, we'll see the situation that when the world is in danger from a large threat that needs to be resolved, it's going to take a much larger man to resolve this whole conflict, as everyone's favorite special agent one-man armada is back again with the long-awaited 3rd season of Reacher. This season will follow the story of the 7th book in the series of Persuader, as Reacher hurtles into the dark heart of a vast criminal enterprise in order to rescue an undercover DEA agent while dealing with the discovery of secrecy and violence and confronting some unfinished business from his past. Reception on this new season, like the last one, has been very well received, with praise for its adaptation of its story, its characters, including Albert Richardson as Reacher himself, as well as its set pieces and action action. And if you want a bit of action with a huge man, you can catch the first 3 episodes now on Amazon Prime, with a new episode releasing every Thursday. The second last new show for this week is a return to an ever-expanding world of the series of Western or country set series of Yellowstone, with a series going back over a century ago to tell the continuing story for one part of this long-line family lineage, as we received what seems to be the second and final season of 1923. This second season will chronicle the highlands of the Montana on the brink of war, on top of an already harsh winter season, and we'll see the Duttons having to defend or die for their land when their ranch's land plot becomes the center of a bitter battle over the state's shifting borders as politicians and suits start to make the land a playground for the elite. Reception so far of this new season has been very well appraised, with reception going to its more action-heavy plot and performances of lead Duttons of Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, and continues the appealing reception of this expansive Yellowstone saga. In order to see how this story comes to an end, you can catch the first episode for the new season now on Paramount Plus, with a new episode releasing every Sunday. The last of the shows for this week is about to be a bit more up close and brutal, and a new series coming from the mind of the creator of the popular series of Peaky Blinders, as a fight is about to break out with an all-new series of 1,000 Blows. This series will see the characters of Hezekiah Moscow and Alec Monroe, who are best friends who go on a run from Jamaica and find themselves in London in the midst of the Industrial Revolution period, as they soon find themselves thrust into the realm of the criminal underbelly of London's thriving bare-knuckle boxing scene, also dealing with a criminal gang of suffragettes. Reception to the series has seen some very well received reception, with praise for its plot concept, its characters, and for the intriguing use of history and time period it is set in that creator Stephen Knight has a flair and appeal for with his previous popular show. And if you want to punch up a good fight for yourself, you can catch this new series right now on Disney+. The last of the new releases for this week is taking us to the realm of video games, and a game that has been a long time coming for release from a few delays, as it's time for an epic quest in a high world of fantasy from the studio of Obsidian, as we've finally gotten the release of their new title of Avowed. The game will be set in the Living Lands, a diverse region of the world of Eora that consists of lush forests and arid deserts to sprawling caves and valleys, where you'll take the role of an envoy from the Ayadir Empire, where you'll be tasked with investigating the mysterious plague known as the Dream Scourge. Reception to this title has seen some well-regarded reviews, with a few modest or mixed in there as well, that while some see as not as great as some of the other open world quest type games, the element of gameplay, combat, world, and story are still well made and decently received. If you want to go on a new quest for yourself, you can now play this new title, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And then one more addition as I came in just before I concluded this is I learned was about a series that seems to be pumping out new releases quicker and quicker each year, as it's time to take to the high seas and deals with a criminal underbelly too, as we have the new entry in the Like a Dragon series with Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Set 6 months after Infinite Wealth, the game will have you play as Goro Majima, a once-feared legend in the Yakuza world who awakens on the beach with no memory other than the hints of his past from the tattoos on his body, who soon must deal with the emergence of pirate-like ruffians that have come from the Age of Discovery. After dealing with those, he takes their ship and heads on a high-seas adventure to regain his memories and repay a man named Noah, who saved his life by repaying him with fulfilling his dreams of seeing the world. Reception on this title has been very well received, with praise for its narrative, its gameplay, and new features, and elements that bring a new take on the expansive series of games. And if you're up for a high-seas adventure yourself as well, you can play this title now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC too. And with all of that, that's a very expensive new releases, so let's see what we got coming up now.
We got a big surprise today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, this is a bit awkward, I must say, because for the first time on this series of weekly stuff, there's no trailers for this week, which is a surprise for me, as I've spent even the likes of one trailer in particular. I know there was probably that Talk to Me one, but I'll need to check clarification like how long that trailer is again, because my whole ruling is if a film or something comes out within 14 days of this trailer's release, I don't count it. Or if it's a case that the trailers and they're like maybe a minute or a minute 10 long, I don't really count it. So I need to check if this was really counted in this instance. It looked like it was short, so I'll need to clarify the case. I know there was a Looney Tunes one as well, but I don't know when that's coming out, so I can't really say much on this. But it may have not reached the goal, but I'm afraid there is no trailers for this week in particular. Now, if there is some way they may pop up in the end of the week or later, or some from this week that I might have missed in particular, I will clarify with those ones from last week. If there's nothing next week, I'll probably throw those ones in that I might have missed, and throw it in with an apology for next week as well. But for now, there's no trailers for this week, unfortunately, so sorry if you're hoping for something new, but that's all the trailers we have for this week.
I like Shrek.
Well, since there's no trailers, let's at least delve into some news stories that we have. With the first of these releases, focus is the projects that are already announced in the world with confirmation for 2 of these new projects coming up with some release dates and one with a slight delay. But we'll delve into those now and see what have locked in dates and look forward to coming soon. So the first of these new releases that's been given a release date is one that I've been waiting to find an announcement to it all. And this week, this announcement came as we finally confirmed the second season to the adaptation of The Last of Us will be dropping from the 13th of April this year. Or in most cases, will be the 14th for me, as it'll be dropping from like 2 a.m. where I'm from in particular. And in my guess, it is probably just an episode a week, but the news for this is exciting, as I'm looking forward to this series a lot. And I'm interested to see what the take will be for this often divisive second game story and how they'll approach it from the TV series, as well as seeing people's reaction to some of the moments from the game played out on TV or from people who don't even know about the story in particular. But either way, I'm very excited to see how this comes about in due time. I'm looking forward to the series come April to watch it again with someone important to me and also experience all those emotions again from the game's story, all done in 4K, because I gotta prep myself for that. The next release date is the only confirmed delay in the bunch for this week, but the length of this delay is not overly big and it's a valid reason for it as well, as it was announced just on Thursday or Friday this week that the upcoming and untitled Spiderman 4 with Tom Holland has been delayed by just 1 week from July 24th to July 31st, 2026, with the reason being that it is give a bit more breathing room for the massive epic of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey that comes out on July 17th that year and also stars Holland in the leading role. I think an extra week for that epic to give a chance to be seen makes sense, and also a bit of box office for it as well, and then let Spidey get a chance to swing into action 2 weeks later. And I'm sure it will appeal with both the big box office numbers, but sure we'll learn more about both of these movies in due time once filming starts on that second project and we learn more about the recent one, because I know they also dropped the first look image of Matt Damon's Odysseus, but we'll see. Then the last of the release date announcements does also feature one extra bit with it as well, as we're heading to the DC studios for a discussion about the upcoming movie based on the Batman Rogues Gallery villain of Clayface. Now, most of us knew about this project was that it was being written by horror maestro of Mike Flanagan. Initially, I thought he was also directing it as well, but we got confirmation this week that besides a release date, we also got confirmation the film will be helmed by James Watkins, who you may know as the director of last year's remake of Speak No Evil with James McAvoy. So the concept seems to work for it as well, and both doing well in horror, and I'm intrigued to see how they will tackle this as well. As I also mentioned in the instance, they have given a release date for this movie as well, as it was going to be getting a film released on September 11th, 2026. Which is also a surprise. I was expecting this to be another 2 or 3 years out away, but surprising turnaround, and I'm intrigued to see how this goes. Now, the question whether or not this is part of the DCU, the Batverse, or of its own label, like similar to Joker with like DC Blackline or the Elseworld stuff. So I'm not sure what this one is going to be in particular, but I'm also intrigued to know who will be playing the character, as I'm sure we'll learn more about it in due time, but be molded from the leading star, but we can see over time. But with all of them, I want to know about your announcements and which of these 3 are you most excited for in particular. Let me know what you think about it all down below in the comments. The next story that we'll have for this week is in the focus of some announcements and projects that will consist from limited series, biofilms, crime movies, and even a return of 2 films with a recognizable star in the process. And let's discuss them in this story now. So the first of these stories this week is with one that was first announced a little over 2 years ago, before I started doing all this series, and it was the discussion that there is a planned limited series for Apple TV Plus that will tell the story of performers Siegfried and Roy that build up to their tragic attack of their white tiger that happened back in 2003 that saw the tiger attack Roy Horn and thus ended their performing careers. Now, they lived on for a few more years afterwards, but it's a very shocking story as well. Now, the production is being helmed by one of the co-creators of Only Murders in the Building and based on a podcast on their Apple podcast service, and most of the news was quiet for a bit of time. But it was just this week where a new update has popped up with a rumored frontrunner for the duo, with actors of Andrew Garfield and Jude Law being eyed for the pair, and I think the choices here are actually pretty good. I can see them perform well as these famous figures' performance and their white lions and tigers, and give an in-depth look for their careers and the tragedy that unfolded one night that ended it. Now, as of right now, it's all rumored confirmation and no release date or anything has been set as of yet, but I will keep an eye on this project with interest and see how it all comes about in due time, but I'll give it a look when it does come out. But speaking of biographical stories, the next announcement comes to the realm of the film side of things. So we have another biofilm coming to us that will see the case of living on the edge and going big or go home in the realm of daredevil stunts. As announced that a film based on the famous stunt driver of Evel Knievel is in the works as well, with a report that Oscar-winning actor Leo DiCaprio is playing the stuntman himself, and the film is being helmed by La La Land and Babylon director Damien Chazelle. Now, the likes of his life and career is interesting, from having an interest in the level of stunts from a young age to his upbringing and then becoming a famous stunt driver is an interesting story to tackle, and I'm intrigued to see how this will come about, and also maybe mention about his famous jumps like the fountains of Caesar's Palace and the Grand Canyon, but mostly the case I think they're focusing about his famous stunt of the Snake River Canyon in Idaho. But I'm intrigued to see how this more production starts, which apparently is in the summer of this year, and is apparently for release sometime next year, but those things are unconfirmed right now, but we'll see down the line in particular. But speaking of DiCaprio, it's not the only other film that it was set to star in was announced this week, as he's also been apparently in talks to start working out on the soon-to-be teaming up with his longtime collaborator of Martin Scorsese for an all-new crime film. They'll also be starring Emily Blunt and apparently being headlined by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That is supposedly based on a real-life crime boss from Hawaii who will take a battle upon himself against some encroaching rivals to control of the organized crime on that island. Now, it's a surprise case to see a name like The Rock on the list for this film, but maybe he's trying to prove himself that he can do some more serious roles. It doesn't consist from playing essentially the same character in all of his movies, but the concept does sound like it could appeal overall. I know there's another film he wants to do in Hawaii, so maybe the case. Now, no confirmed release or start date has been made on this as of yet, but is still in the bidding war for the time being, but I can see this is a big spectacle success from the director. I'm intrigued to see where this all goes from here as well. And the last announcement is with an update to a project that has been in development for a bit of time now, and one that was announced this week that would both have one thing in common, and that is with both of these movies star the famous actor of Will Smith. Now, recently Smith was invited to a live stream hosted by XQC, where on the show he announced that at first the production and plan for the sequel to I Am Legend is coming along well, and has also confirmed Michael B. Jordan is attached to the project as well, confirming that the sequel is still happening. But it was not the only sequel that was given any word on, as it was also announced that they may be getting a surprise sequel to the 2008 superhero movie of Hancock. It is also apparently in the works and being concepted, and that they have also approached the actress of Zendaya for a role in that movie, which I'm also guess is probably going to be like the daughter of his character or someone else entirely, but the info on that is currently unknown right now. Now, the likes of both of these are decent, with the likes of I Am Legend being one that I'm still confused as to how they're going to set this up, unless it's like the alternate ending they cut out of the film initially, and that's more faithful to the book it's based on. But the Hancock sequel would be an interesting one to see, and how will fare amongst the massive popularity that superhero movies and shows like the MCU, DCU, The Boys and everything like that are to this day and age. But I guess for the moment we'll have to wait and see how this project comes along. And if there's any updates do happen, I will bring them up in a later video. But what do you think of these project announcements? Would you be down for a Siegfried and Roy series, a film on Evel Knievel, a new Scorsese crime film, and these two Will Smith projects? Let me know what you think of these all down below, and we can discuss about them all there. And our final story for this week is with a discussion of a shake-up and not stirred in the entertainment industry, as a massive franchise that has spanned over 60 years has seen a change in ownership, and this is with the focus of the popular franchise of espionage 007 or James Bond. So since the mid-50s, or 1953 in particular, we have seen plenty of takes and stories based on the famous MI5 agent of 007 that stars a series of novels written by the late Ian Fleming that evolved into a massive film franchise spanning 25 movies, 2 spoof films, 7 actors portraying James Bond, a few games and shows, and a massive franchise that also consists of 6 Oscar wins. That has seen its fair share of appeal, and many wondered when we would see any word of the next take on the Bond, and who will have the moniker 007 in particular, since Daniel Craig has given his gun into the services. However, this story has gotten the announcement of some new management instead, and not about a project of upcoming announcements, as was announced on Thursday or Friday of this week that the series was now in the reins of Amazon MGM. MGM initially owned the studio, but now Amazon bought MGM, so you can see the case, and that longtime producers and owners of license of Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson will also be stepping down as producers for future projects in this series, but will still be remaining as co-owners of the franchise license. Now, this case can be an effect of the whole ordeal. It could see this franchise being milked dry with countless projects and spin-offs and other issues that could arise from this ownership, similar to likes how people see with Disney owning Marvel and Lucasfilm with likes the MCU and Star Wars. But as of right now, it's unclear as to what to expect from it all and how long before we see any of this have any relevancy. But the head of Amazon himself, of Jeff Bezos, has already started asking fans on Twitter as to who they would like to see take on the role of Bond next. And from what I've heard is that the main frontrunner currently from fans is Henry Cavill. And, you know, I can honestly see that. I mean, he proved a man from Uncle and Argyle in particular to me. Whether we see this come to pass is anyone's guess at this point, but I'm sure we will find out in due time as to how the series will suit up again for one more mission. But I want to know your thoughts about this announcement. Do you see this as a good thing for this franchise, or is the 007 franchise as good as dead? And who else would you see as your choice for the next Bond? Because I remember there was another one from a little while ago I mentioned, but I don't know. Let me know what you think of all this down below, and with all of that, that's all the news that we have for this week.
Nobody likes pickles!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, that ends episode 92 of Weird Mind Newsroom, and I do hope you enjoyed listening to my ramblings for quite another week. So, let's delve into some updates of what we have coming up in the next bit of the channel. So, I'll start on the reviews side of things in this case. So, I am still going to do the reward season stuff in particular, so in most cases, the ones I'm going to focus maybe on for the moment, maybe ones I've seen is Dune, Wicked, Amelia Perez, and Wallace and Gromit. They're the only ones I haven't really done that at least I can give some focus on to. There's a few other ones I do want to give my insight to that's like from the Best Picture stuff, like Nickel Boys or Anora is another one in particular, and like a few other ones that like in other categories like Nosferatu and all that, and A Different Man. Maybe in The Apprentice as well, because I've seen that was nominated for actor role, so I'll do in that case. I am probably going to try and do them over, I might start writing them maybe this week. I'm just finishing up the other bit, the Oscar predictions, so that's out next week in particular, but I will get onto them in due time. A few of them I'm going to do some short ones, a few I'm going to do long ones. Like Wallace Gromit, it's going to be a long one. Apprentice and Amelia Perez, I might just keep short in particular, at least The Apprentice. The Amelia Perez on kind of maybe middle ground or short, I don't know yet, but we'll see in that case. And then some other ones afterwards will come to pass, like Sonic and Fossa and Nosferatu. I'm going to Captain America now because I've seen it this week, which I liked. It's decent. It's not as good as the other trilogy, but it's still very good. And a few other ones as well. And also, as I mentioned, the case with the release date for Last of Us now, I'm going to confirm maybe the start of next month. I'm going to start writing up the review for season 1 of Last of Us and have that out before the season 2 starts drop. And then maybe start the gameplays for part 2 or something like that, but we'll see. Speaking of gameplays, so I have the finale going to be uploading for Last of Us probably the next day or two, probably maybe after this or something, I don't know yet, but we'll see that come along. I'm going to get to Mario Wonder in due time as well again. I'm going to get to Cyberpunk. I'm trying to still figure out what to play on PS5 next. I will get to PC as well. I'm going to get to PS3, PS2, Wii U, figure out DS and 3DS stuff and the PSP stuff kind of thing to get them working so I can play games on handheld stuff and try and figure out how to record them. Maybe I have to link them up to the TV or some of that. I'll figure something out. And other bits and stuff like that. There's gonna be more gameplays coming along. I just gotta find time to record stuff because I've been busy and just trying to figure everything else out and trying to sort bits out. Sometimes coming in for work, I'm tired. So just bear with me in that case, so apologies on some delays and some bits. And in the case of long form stuff, I mentioned the Oscar prediction one is going to come out before next Sunday when the Oscars start happening. I'll probably be asleep before the Oscars come out, but you know, the case and things like that, they're coming along. I'm going to get to rewatch a fun eventually, long form AI video that I promised someone that I'm going to make the video on and maybe get their insight on it as well, to get their thoughts on some bits and pieces. Hormone Spore is coming, everything else is coming, so it's a case you're going to look forward to that instance down the line, so stay tuned because I will be coming along. Just thank you for the patience in this case because, you know, I promise stuff and it takes a while, so, but I will keep promises on stuff as I did for past previous instances in the last couple of weeks. But with all of that, I'm going to leave it there for now. So if you enjoyed my content and want to see more from me more frequently, then simply like and subscribe. I still upload new videos every single week, and there's a bit of a stretch here I want to maybe push at a certain instance. Hopefully by the end of next week, by the start of March, maybe reach 200 subs. Because in case we're about 170 or 169 last time I checked, which was like, I think this morning or something like that. So maybe we could, I don't know. I'm kind of maybe pushing the case for maybe the 2 anniversary have 500 subs and by the end of this year 1,000. But I'll figure something out. I'll see how things go. I'm not pushing everything, but I appreciate every single person that's like subscribed and joined, and I'd like to welcome everyone there who's joined along there, so in that case. And then let me know your thoughts and everything to discuss this week from the new releases and the news. I was surprised by trailers lacking this week for some reason, but you know, you get the case. And if there's anything I did miss from the trailers this week, let me know and I'll upload into the next one. But I think with that, I'm gonna leave it there for now. So as always, you all stay being wonderful people and have a great old day every day doing many great things, because you all deserve to do many great things, to keep being you because no one else can do what you do. Now, I've been your host, Sam, and as always, I'll see you all in the next episode, so take care, and I'll see you later.